Now let's compare ionic and covalent compounds. In an ionic compound, what forms the bond? Well, a metal and nonmetal. If we remember, we've got a little staircase here on the periodic table where we have metals on one side and nonmetals on the other. So metals over here, nonmetals over there. So if you've got an ionic bond will form between two things from opposite sides of the periodic table. Polar covalent bonds happen between two nonmetals. Nonpolar covalent bonds occur between same nonmetals. So an example of this would be nitrogen monoxide, because they are both nonmetals. If you have the same metal, you've probably got two oxygens together. So oxygen, which means we got one oxygen and another oxygen. They're the same. What makes this polar is that the oxygen takes more of the electron than the nitrogen. Here, because they're the same, they share the electron equally. What do the electrons do? So, the electron is stolen by the nonmetal. Here we have polar covalent is unequal sharing. And nonpolar covalent is equal sharing. Melting and boiling point. Ionic bonds are very strong, so therefore they have very high melting points. Polar covalent are not quite as strongly pulled together, so therefore they have medium melting points. Nonpolar covalent means there's no polarity, it's kind of a weak bond, so they have very low melting and boiling. And since there are things like oxygen and hydrogen and nitrogen, they tend to be gases. So they boil at less than room temperature. Do they dissolve in water? Yes. Polar covalent dissolve in water. Nonpolar covalent don't. I guess I should say no, huh? Because water is polar. Ionic compounds, do they conduct electricity? Yes, because they're made of charges. Polar covalent? No. They share electrons. And nonpolar covalent? No, they don't either. So there's a real nice summary table. Should be helpful to you on the exam about comparing ionic and covalent compounds.